Welcome to the brand new macOS Sequoia 15.3 on all unsupported Macs. Welcome to Jesse's Flying and welcome to the brand new macOS Sequoia 15.3 on unsupported Macs from 2011 up until 2017. If you have seen some of my videos, because maybe you have already subscribed my channel, and if you have not, I strongly recommend you do so. My credo was always do not install Sequoia, Sonoma or Ventura on Macs older than 2012. But with the latest version of the OpenCore Legacy Patcher and with macOS Sequoia 15.3, that things might have been changed. And so in this video, I'd like to guide you through all my tests that I perform on every unsupported Mac with an example of the iMac 2011 that is sitting here on my desk. And I'm going to show you all the tests, my finding on that very old iMac, if that works or if there are some caveats or some problems, so you can decide how old is your unsupported Mac and does it make sense to run such a new macOS on such an old Mac that is 14 years old. While we're going through all the tests, I show you what other Macs might have some problems with the tests that maybe even the iMac 2011 can handle without any problems. And so you have a nice broad overview because I have every Intel chip generation here, starting with the second generation in the iMac 2011 up to the 7th generation here in the iMac 2017. Very broad variety of graphic cards and memory and so on. And so you can pick your unsupported Mac that is close to one that I have here, and you can finally decide, does it make sense to install Sequoia on your unsupported Mac? If you'd like to know how to do that, there is a nice tutorial over here on my channel that is for macOS Sonoma, and it also applies 100% to macOS Sequoia and the latest version as well. So the first test I always do on all my unsupported Macs is to install Chrome, and as you can see, the MacPro 2013 trash can cannot handle Chromium. It produces weird graphic errors, and that is due to its kind of very old graphic cards. It either has a AMD or ATI, as it was former D300, D500 or D700, which are obviously not metal capable. And you cannot exchange them as they are specifically made for the trash can, and there are two of them. By the way, I'm working on a MacPro 2013 trash can dedicated video where I will explain and show how to connect an eGPU, an external GPU via Thunderbolt to that trash can, and then you can use more modern graphic cards. But for now, Chromium doesn't work and it gives you that weird graphic error that doesn't happen on all other unsupported Macs I tested, not even on the iMac 2011, which is 2 years older than this one. Fortunately, there is a fix. So in the description that I linked below, there are two commands you need. One is a command to start Chrome and force it to not use Metal, which doesn't work, but to use OpenGL. And when you enter that command into the terminal, you can see that Chrome pops up and works. But you would always have to do it like this, which is kind of complicated. So there's another command that you can just paste into the search bar of Google Chrome, and that opens some experimental features, flags called in Chrome. You cannot reach it via the settings because they are hidden, they are for developers, but here at the highlighted setting, which is called Choose Angle Graphics Backend, you don't choose default, you choose OpenGL, and then it says below you have to relaunch Chrome to apply the settings. If you do that, you can see it relaunches. It's still in the settings, but when we just go to any website, it works. Now it always uses OpenGL and it doesn't produce any error. As I said, that is the only Mac, the MacPro 2013 trash can, that produces that error. Not even my iMac 2011 or no other unsupported Mac. But if that happens to you, you now know how to solve that. Let's switch back to the iMac 2011. My second test is Safari. Same, I try some websites. Safari works on all unsupported Macs also flawlessly. But the first thing that has a downside here on that iMac 2011, let me just close Chrome, is the desktop, the wallpaper. Because when you go to the settings and you want to choose a wallpaper, you have different kinds of wallpapers. That is the standard wallpaper of macOS Sequoia. But there are dynamic wallpapers that are up here. But if I want to choose the dynamic wallpaper of Sequoia, nothing happens. Same when we use the Macintosh dynamic wallpaper, nothing happens. Only when I use, for instance, the Sonoma wallpaper, then I got the dynamic wallpaper of Sonoma. Why is that? Because when Sequoia was released, the dynamic wallpapers of Sequoia just made these very old Macs crash. And so the developers of the OpenCore Legacy Patcher decided, as they couldn't fix that issue, that they just got rid of those two dynamic wallpapers. Because if I want to switch back to Macintosh wallpaper, you have the standard landscape wallpaper of Sequoia. So they just replaced the Macintosh dynamic wallpaper and the Sequoia dynamic wallpaper with a regular landscape wallpaper of Sequoia. But that is like, okay, a very tiny downside with running Sequoia on these very old Macs. But I just wanted to mention if anyone is wondering where are the dynamic wallpapers. So let's close the settings and go to the Weather app. The Weather app also uses Metal and a new Metal version that these very old graphic cards like in this iMac can't handle. And the developers weren't able to re-establish all these graphic drivers because they are reliant on a feature that's called AVX2. And the very old Macs don't have AVX2, which is a CPU extension, a set of code newer CPUs can understand, but the older ones don't. In short, they had problems with the Weather app producing graphical glitches here at the background, where you can see here in Cupertino, where the Weather app is just set to, it's mostly sunny, but in real it should look like this. There should be some small feathery clouds in the top, and as you can see here on the iMac 2011, these animations are gone. Again, you could have guessed it, the developers of the OpenCore Legacy Patcher just get rid of these animations as they always caused graphical glitches. You say, okay, that's another very cosmetic downside like the wallpaper stuff. So at least the Weather app is not crashing and it's fully functional. Nearly fully functional. The other downside we have is maps. And as you can see, the precipitation map here just stays dark. And that is an issue since macOS Ventura. In macOS Ventura, the Apple Map Kit that displays such maps, you could have guessed it again, requires a metal-capable graphics card. And so the maps in the Weather app are not working. They are not showing anything. If we just close the Weather app and we go into the Maps app, what could you expect? Same. It's all dark. No maps with macOS Ventura, Sonoma, or Sequoia on the very old Macs. And the same if I close the Maps app in Photos, you could see on the very top there's the library and the Photos app work. But below the library here, there should have been an entry Maps, where you have a map where you can see where your photos have been taken. Why? Again, you could have guessed it, the developers of the OpenCore Legacy Patcher just removed that feature because it always made the photo app crash. So you could say, okay, I don't need any map features. I have my phone for navigation and everything. I don't need maps features at home because that iMac still has a gorgeous screen, 32-inch high resolution. That's a nice Mac, right? The good thing is this one has the glass in front of the screen just attached by magnets. And there are many videos on YouTube or with iFixit that can show you how to disassemble that iMac and to upgrade it to the fastest CPU possible, and for instance to replace the hard disk against an SSD, which I did here also, and you can very easily upgrade more memory because it has a flap down here. You can just unscrew 2 screws and you can expand the memory. And so it's quite a nice iMac that you can use for everyday work without the wallpaper, without maps, and without the animations in the Weather app. Fine. And by the way, all these steps I'm showing you, I did that on all other unsupported Macs, and all work flawlessly with the map features and with the Weather app, except again the MacPro 2013 trash can. Here we are again at the MacPro 2013 trash can, and as I was talking about the map feature on the iMac 2011, the graphic cards of the MacPro 2013 have another flaw with maps. Because if you open up, for instance, the Weather app here, at first you can see all the animations for Cupertino with the mostly sunny weather with that feathery clouds that were missing on the iMac. But if we go to the map here, to the precipitation map, you can see that all the text has transparency issues. You see some black boxes around the text. That is another flaw of the Apple Map Kit that requires metal that doesn't work correctly on the MacPro 2013. So let me just close the Weather app and we go into Maps so you can see it more clearly. You can see here with Cupertino that all the text boxes have black, all the text has black text boxes, and if I switch for instance to the satellite, you can see it even more obvious. And obviously the same happens when we just close Maps and we go to Photos, and there you can see below the library there should have been the map feature where it shows the world map, where it shows where all your photos were taken. But that is only a very cosmetic issue of the MacPro 2013. But now let's jump back again to the iMac 2011. Alright, the next tests I performed was with the News app, which works on all Macs flawlessly, the App Store also working, but it's not a but with the older versions of OpenCore Legacy Patcher, when you download it, for instance, the Numbers, Pages or Keynote app from Apple onto the iMac 2011, they would instantly crash when you try to open them. The developers of the OpenCore Legacy Patcher could fix that with the latest version, version 2.2.0, and it also works flawlessly with macOS Sequoia 15.3. So I tested the Pages app, Numbers, Keynotes, played a little bit around. They are stable, they do not crash, because with the older versions they would just crash instantly as soon as you would try to open, for instance here, Pages template, and this window didn't appear at all. So that works. So make sure if you have a quite old Mac, you use the latest version of the OpenCore Legacy Patcher. And the last, but maybe most important flaw that this old iMac 2011 has when you're running the latest macOS Sequoia is DRM content, so streaming content. In this case, I tried Apple TV Plus. You could try Netflix or Amazon Prime. As you can see, the trailer runs perfectly. And as soon as I, for instance, try to start a free episode here, it just closes instantly. And that happens with all DRM content if you try to play that. So, as many of you like that screen and say, okay, I just used that iMac, put it near my couch or in the bedroom, and I just watch some movies streaming on that old iMac. Unfortunately, if it is DRM, if it's streaming content, it won't work. What works though is, let me just close this, YouTube 4K. Unfortunately, I cannot record the screen and play 4K at once because that's too much for that iMac. But I'm going to show you the video here as a screen recording from my phone. So that is a 4K video. Let me do this in full screen. And right now this is full HD, 1080p. And let me just switch that to 1440p. And you can see that is still smooth as butter. And when I switch it to 2160p, which is 4K down here, 4K video, completely smooth from YouTube. And therefore you can use that iMac still as a 4K video player as long as it's not DRM content. And so while the iMac is still showing the 4K video without any problems, not every unsupported Mac I have here can do that. And one of that is the MacBook Air 2013. This MacBook Air, I already mentioned that in some videos here on my channel. By the way, if you missed them, I strongly recommend you subscribe my channel. This MacBook Air here has a very slow CPU. It has only 4 GB of memory. The iMac here has upgraded to 8 GB of memory, and it has an i7 desktop CPU. This is an i5 mobile chip. And it only has an integrated graphics card. This one here has an AMD Radeon graphics card. And so the MacBook Air 2013 can only handle full HD, 1080p. If you switch it to 1440, it starts to stutter a little bit. And if you try to play 4K videos, you cannot do that. It's still reloading all the time, it's stopping and so on. But all other unsupported Macs, beside the iMac 2011, can handle DRM content. So even this MacBook Air can play Netflix or Apple TV Plus, but only full HD, which is enough for that display. And if you just maybe connect an external screen, full HD is maximum. The other that cannot handle 4K very well, that is my MacBook Pro 2015. This one is only capable for 1440, so 2K, not 4K. And speaking of the MacBook Pro 2015, there is one more thing, as Apple always says, I'd like to show you. So this is my MacBook 2015, which has a 5th generation Intel i7 chip, Broadwell, and it has an integrated Intel Iris graphics card. And there is a glitch here with the widgets on the desktop, because here with the battery widget, it should show the percentage of the battery, how much power is left in the battery, but it doesn't. If you look up here in the status bar, it shows the percentage. And another thing is here with the calendar app, there are no surroundings for this events of the day. It looks a little bit weird. But if I just, for instance, open up Safari, it shows the percentage of the battery. And now it shows the surroundings of the events on the day in the calendar app, but it doesn't show the name of the event anymore. So something is wrong with that graphic driver for the Broadwell 5th generation integrated graphics, because when I just close Safari or just minimize it and I click on the desktop, the widgets become active again, and now the percentage is gone, the text of the events is back, but the surrounding and the corners are gone as well. So that's only a very cosmetic thing, and I don't know on how many other Macs that happens. I think it might be 5th generation, I think it might be Intel Iris related. So if you have an old unsupported Mac, 5th generation, 2015, something like that, maybe an iMac or a Mac Mini or a MacBook, give me a comment below if the same glitch happens to you, and maybe the developers of the OpenCore Legacy Patcher can work on that and get that glitch fixed. By the way, if you're asking about Mac Mini, I don't have any Mac Mini anymore. I used to have one, but that's no problem, because a MacBook, and especially the MacBook Air of that age, is basically a Mac Mini with a screen and a keyboard and a touchpad. And they have the same CPU series. So my MacBook Air 2013 had the same chip as the Mac Mini 2014. To sum everything up, macOS Sequoia 15.3 with the OpenCore Legacy Patcher 2.2.0 runs nearly flawlessly on all Macs 2012 and younger. If you're going older, like the iMac 2011, there are some cosmetic issues, like no animation anymore in the weather app, no maps at all, neither in the weather app, not in the maps app, and not in the photos app. You don't have two dynamic wallpapers, fine, another cosmetic issue. But you have the biggest issue, no DRM content, no Netflix, no Amazon Prime Video, and no Apple TV Plus. But as you could see, the iMac shows 4K video from YouTube, no problem. And so it still is a good machine if you're just using pages, numbers. It has a gorgeous 32-inch screen. You don't get that with a new iMac, it's just 27-inch. If you're asking, how far back should I go with that iMac, with that very old Macs? Here's my suggestion. macOS Big Sur still has the map kit, the old map kit that doesn't require metal. Still use the latest OpenCore Legacy Patcher even if you're installing an older macOS version. So, thank you so much for watching. See you soon. Have fun here on my channel. Maybe you just hop over to my video log where I'm trying to switch from a Windows user completely to macOS on my MacBook Pro with an M4 Apple Silicon chip. And next video will be about how to run Windows games on that Apple Silicon. And otherwise, have a nice day. See you soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.